Oh boy, let's get it started. Mm, mm, mm. Hey, everybody. Good evening. Let me get myself together. I really feel in a silly mood tonight. This is going to be a good topic, though. Navigating family conflict is what we're talking about. Yeah, so like the video, share the video with you. I'm obviously late. I was watching a podcast replay that somebody sent me, and my head hurts. I'm not going to even lie, my head hurts. We are absolutely in wild times, but we're on all networks. I just cut on TikTok. I haven't been on TikTok in a minute, and yeah. So tonight, navigating family conflict is what we're talking about, and we're on all networks: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And I might leave this one up tonight because I think it's going to be good. So, into, before we get started, you know the drill: city, state, or country. Where you tune in from? If you are not tuned in from America, let me know where you're tuned in from. All right, that'll give me some time to get my notes together. And of course, we'll be looking up and shouting things out. Go ahead and grab your journal, something to drink, something to write with. And this is going to be good tonight and challenging. All right, city, state, country. Carson, California. Raleigh, thank you so much. Chicago, good. El Paso, Texas. Of course, in the video as well. That will be very helpful. Let's get in the algorithm good tonight. Milwaukee, Dallas again, Dubai. Praying for those of you in Dubai. A lot of clients in Dubai. I heard about the flood there. Milwaukee again, Long Beach, Huntsville, Alabama. Hey, Jonathan. Houston, Texas, DMV, one of my favorite places. Definitely work too much for sure. Cincinnati, Goldsboro tonight, too, the truth. Good to see you again. Liberia, Connecticut. Hey, Alasia. Um, hey, Stacia. Looking great. Good to see you as well. Richmond, Niagara Falls, Canada. Come on, y'all. Where y'all tuned in from? Let's see what's going on Facebook and YouTube. Bakersville, California, Australia, Glen Burnie, Jackson, Mississippi, Charlotte, Kansas, Pineland, South Carolina. Where is Pineland, South Carolina? Roanoke Rapids. I know where that is. Thank you for sharing this video as well. Make sure you do that. This is going to be big tonight. We're talking about navigating family challenge, and this is going to be good because many of the calls that I have are around family conflict and how to deal with conflict within your family. And I want to have an honest conversation about this and really talk to you about some things to consider as it relates to how you should approach this. All right. So, like the video, share the video. Let's get the numbers going up. TikTok. Hey, TikTok. Time to see. My videos are not showing up in FYP. I posted a video earlier today. It had like 300 views. So my stuff is definitely still being shadow banned on TikTok. I don't know what's up with that, but it's live. Good to be on with you tonight. Ridgeland, South Carolina, Low Country. Okay, I've heard of Low Country, South Carolina. Morton, Pennsylvania. Boise, Idaho. I have clients in Boise. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cleveland, Orlando, El Paso, Houston. Again, one of my favorite places. Thank you so much, Tallahassee. Like, share the video. Let's get into this tonight because I'm already behind. And looks like Jonathan sent me something. I can't see it, Jonathan, because I'm on all of my networks. But yeah, TikTok is really not. I don't know. They have a problem with me, probably because I've sent them some very nice messages directly, telling them to get their act together. Nevertheless. Really appreciate you all for tuning in. Let's get into it. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I've got a couple of quick announcements real quick. And I want to get into the content tonight because this is going to be big. And I want you to share it because it's definitely going to help. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Brooklyn, in the house, Seattle, Raleigh. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you for tuning in, Jersey. Real quick, uh, let me get my notes together because I've been talking and really ready to get into this tonight. Let me say this to all of you. Um, Tonight's going to be good, especially for those of you that have had challenges with addressing conflict in your family. And this is going to make sense as I really kind of walk through this introduction in a second. So you definitely need a journal tonight, something to take notes with. If I say anything that makes sense, of course, type church with as far as possible. Like and share the video. That's one of the greatest things you all can help me do tonight. Is just spread the word out about the content. I've seen a lot of creators talk about how their content numbers are starting to fall drastically on certain networks, not just TikTok. And I can't control the algorithms, but I will continue to do consistent content and do it authentically. I don't do it to be viral. I do it because it's good stuff and it's helpful. And so you can help me just by sharing the video. So if you all would just share the video tonight, that would be great. I really would appreciate it. And let's get our number up. If we get up to 1,000 tonight, I'll be satisfied. Um, um, don't forget, there's some major things that are out. Group work, April the 20th, which is Saturday, is sold out. May the 1st, I've got 2 seats, so make sure you grab that if you want it. I've got a group work on May the 8th called How to Stop Overthinking, which is going to be big. One on the 25th of May on setting boundaries. I'm doing the Triangle of Trust on May the 4th. I've got a lot going on. May is definitely a personal development month. So make sure you check into all of that. Of course, support the show. You can support the show at Info Zeb the Third. What is it called? Info Zeb the Third on Zelle. Yeah, Zelle, $ Zeb the Third, Cash App, and Info Zeb the Third on Venmo. All right, navigating family conflict. Let's get into it. Put the subject in the chat area. Navigating family conflict is what we're talking about. And this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Navigating family conflict is what we're going to discuss. And I want to walk you through some challenges that people in my work I'm seeing people are having as it relates to family conflict and how to address it, how to go about addressing it. And oh yeah, those of you that ordered books, they came in early, and so some of those started going out today. More will go out tomorrow. So thank you for your support. They're almost sold out. And once these two are sold out, I probably won't ever put those back in rotation again. They'll just remain in private stock. Those are books that were written back in 2015, 2019, respectively. And I didn't edit anything to them. They're very much a reflection of my life and where I was at that time. But absolutely still aligned with where I am now. And it's just amazing how that works. All right, so navigating family conflict. Let's talk about it. Now, this is going to be good because one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that um, conflict conflict is not just specific to friends, partners, enemies, etc. Conflict a lot of times is huge in family settings. And unfortunately, many people, when it comes to conflict within families, many people place conflict in families on a much higher pedestal um, because it is family. And so, because it is family, then there are a lot of things that people allow to pass, to fly in the name of family. And that's really painful because I heard a client say something today that was incredibly powerful. It was a couple that I work with, and he said something about people pleasing, and hopefully he's watching. Shout out to them, a beautiful couple that I'm honored to have as clients. But he said something about people pleasing that has been replaying in my head all day. And he said, "Doc, for the last 2 decades, I've been people pleasing so much that now I don't know who I am." And that was a powerful statement because when you are a serial people pleaser, You very much can lose your identity in how you go about trying to please others. Where that is even more problematic is that people pleasing is not exempt from how we handle family too. And if there's an area where I've seen people do a lot of people pleasing, yes, you people please on your job. Yes, you might people please in your relationships. Yes, you might people please. Um, yes, you might, people please among your friends, whatever. But let me tell you one of the highest places and one of the most consistent places where I see people consistently people pleasing, and that is among family. People please heavily among family. And when you're people pleasing, and I've explained this many times, when you people please, you are being fake. And that's the way I explain it because it puts into context, exactly the impact and the effects of people pleasing. That it not only causes you to give others a fake version of you, you end up living with a fake version of yourself. And one of the big reasons why people do people please, um, one of the big reasons why people do people please with family is because it is more convenient for you to be and act like something you're not with folks who know you, um, who are connected to you for comfort purposes, for safety purposes, than it is to step out and challenge people's perspective about you, especially family. One of the things that I know about family is that oftentimes and we can substitute the word family for just anybody that's close to you. Let's say that. One of the things that I know about anybody that's close to you, one of the things that we have to be careful about people who are really close to us is that oftentimes people who are really close to you have a difficulty seeing you other than who they in their minds perceive you to be. And this is really important um, because I know for a fact that a lot of times it is easy for people who don't know you, people who are not connected to you, it's easier for them to receive you, embrace you, than sometimes the very people you've grown up with, you've eaten with, you've worked with, you've labored with, you've lived with, whatever. Um, there's a verse, one of my favorite verses, that says, "A prophet is without honor in his own country and among his own kin." It's a powerful verse because it suggests that sometimes your first hand claps won't come from those near you. It's going to come from those that are far away. So it makes sense, y'all. If you just give me a second to just lay this, and then I'm going to get into the nitty gritty tonight. It makes sense then if we try to understand people pleasing in the context or the impact of people pleasing first in the context of family. Particularly if who you are or who you are striving to be goes against the grain of how people in your family or closest to you or in your circle want to see you. And so that's where the rub is. And a lot of times when we think about conflict, one of the core roots of conflict within family structures is people pleasing. That, in fact, I've seen so many people be willing to just roll over, accept any kind of treatment, be talked to any kind of way, handled any kind of way, mistreated, whatever, by family members in the name of blood, um, opposed to having the courage to stand down on who they are, who they've been called to be, what their purpose is, even if that flies in the face of the people that are nearest to them. All right. And so people pleasing is a big cause of conflict. And I wanted to say that before we got into this. Now, I want to give you three things. I think this is going to be easy. I want to give you I want to give you three things to consider when it comes to managing family conflict. And I want to jump right into this. I didn't want a long intro tonight. I want to jump right into this because one of the things I need you to understand is that this is family conflict. Even when I was thinking about, putting a couple of notes down, family conflict is a very tricky nuance. And I'm going to try to deal with some of these nuances tonight, but it's a very tricky nuance when we think about it, because there are a lot of layers connected to navigating family conflict, and it's not as simple as just saying, "Oh, you know, I'm having an argument with a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, whatever." Family is different, and I'm going to try to deal with some of these nuances when I give you these three things I want you to consider. All right, I want you to consider three things when you're managing family conflict, and let's just dive right in. Like the video, share the video, support the show. You see the ways to support there. And of course, throw a salad up there if you do it. You're going to buy me lunch on tomorrow. So, first thing I want you to consider is this. Record this in the notes, in your journal, put it in the chat. This is the first thing I need you to consider. The number one rule of thumb when it comes to managing conflict in your family is you have to be objective. The number one rule of thumb when it comes to managing conflict in a family is that you have to be objective. This is going to be so good. We're going to go ahead and just start stretching out in a second. Let me plug up my charger for this other iPad. The number one rule of thumb for managing family conflict is that you have to be objective. You have to be objective. This is big. And I'm going to lose a lot of you from the beginning. You have to be objective. And the reason why I say you have to be objective is because we tend to have this proclivity to handle family in a non-objective way sometimes because they are family. Now, look, this is going to be hard for y'all. I'm warming y'all up because when I get warm, it's going to be over. I'll be screaming in a minute. We tend to be very non-objective. We tend to be very non-objective when it comes to family because they are family. And here's the rule of thumb. When it comes to objectivity, especially as it relates to family, there are two things you got to remember. Number one, objectivity looks like honesty first. Okay? Objectivity looks like honesty first. All the other stuff is secondary. So when you're dealing with your family and there is conflict in your family and you're trying to manage the conflict in a successful way, you've got to remain objective. Now, this ain't going to be pillow talk. Go find you a therapist, counselor, coach, psychologist that'll give you pillow talk. This is going to be honest, direct conversation, as it always is. Objectivity looks like honesty first. Without honesty, there is no objectivity. You cannot stick to the facts of anything without honesty. And that absolutely includes conflict with your family. All right? What is that honesty going to be about? Well, two things. That honesty, when it comes to family conflict, should be about two things. Number one, it should be about honesty about who you are. This is important. Honesty about who you are. Would y'all believe me if I said to you that a lot of people who complain about family drama and family conflict and family discord are people who are right in the middle of causing it? Y'all, look, I want you to put in the comments in all capital letters, levels. Come on, hurry, hurry. Levels. Y'all share the video, like the video. Let's get the numbers up tonight. Levels. Levels. Le- Would you believe that a lot of people who talk about family conflict and complain about it are oftentimes in the thick of causing it? Which means before we're going to be honest about the conflict in our family, we got to be honest about ourselves and our cause in said conflict. Because it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to address others when you first address yourself. I'll be doing a live real soon on talk therapy and how people abuse therapy. It's going to make all the therapists that like to do that really pissed. Counselors, psychologists, coaches, pastors, whatever. It's going to make a lot of people upset. The reality of the matter is, many of us have done you a disservice. We've done you a disservice because you will reach out for the support of a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a pastor, whomever. You'll pay money to engage them. And instead of receiving feedback, honest feedback about your behavior and matters, they turn into talk sessions where you just pretty much just say how you feel. You're not held accountable. You're not challenged to be responsible or accountable or accept accountability. And they turn into 60-minute sessions where you just blurt what you want to say, and there are no solutions that help make you better. And that's a disservice. Thank you, Valerie, for the first salad. It's a little dry tonight. It's going to get better. That's a disservice. One of the things I tell my clients, I don't care if we're dealing with family conflict, if you're dealing with a divorce, if you're dealing with a breakup, you're dealing with problems with your kids, I don't care what it is. In any situation, before we are able to hold anybody else to a level of honesty, you've got to first hold yourself to that standard. You have to hold yourself to that standard. It's important. So, honesty, objectivity looks like honesty first, but first, it is honesty with yourself. What is my role in this family conflict? Now, I'm going to say this to y'all. Y'all have to like this. Some of y'all, some people, let me say that. So some of you don't get offended too early because it's going to get better in a second. Some people really are great at seeing what's wrong in situations and what's wrong with everybody else versus not seeing what's wrong with themselves. They're great at it. They're absolutely great at seeing what's wrong with everybody else but themselves. And this not only spans when it comes to family, this also spans into the workplace. This also spans into relationships. This also spans into your friendships. All of us know that one friend, that one person who lives a life that vicariously, everything is always wrong with everybody else but them. Everything is always wrong with everybody else but them. And I'm telling y'all, self-evaluation, record it now. Self-evaluation will solve at least 50% of your family conflict. Y'all should be typing and saying church. Thank you, Charlene. There's a salad. Y'all going slow, but it's going to get better. Self-evaluation will solve 50% of your family problems. Record it. You're going to be the smartest person at the water cooler all week. Self-evaluation will solve 50% of your family conflict. You know why? because it's gonna deal with the one person that can't nobody else deal with better. That's you. So when I have clients come to me and they just unloading on people, my family did this, they did this, they did this, my daddy did this, my mama did this. I listen and I listen, I listen, and I let them get it out and they cry and I let them cry and all that stuff, and that's great. And but before we go in on them and what how they can gain from that, I give them a moment to give me a couple of moments to tell me about their role. And a lot of times many of my clients are shocked because they've never had a person ask them about their role in their own conflict. And true growth first starts when you evaluate your role first. Listen, put this in the comments, y'all. I'm dropping nuggets. I'm dropping nuggets and my stomach is growling. Put it in the comments. Everybody else isn't always the problem. I don't even know if the English proper. I don't care. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Everybody else isn't always the problem. I got a better one. Just take isn't out and put ain't in there. Everybody else ain't always the problem. How about that? And this includes family conflict. And this part of tonight's talk is especially for those of you who have a track record of pointing the finger to everybody else first. Your first job when you're evaluating any situation is always to start with evaluating yourself. Make sense? So objectivity looks like, number one, being honest about who you are. And number two, here we go. Y'all ready? After you've been honest about who you are, here's the second thing. Then you can be honest about family members. And I want to spend some time here. After you're honest about who you are, then you can be honest about your family members. What does that look like, Doc? What does it look like for me to be honest about my family members? Well, let's start here. I want you to record this. There are no special rules when it comes to objectivity. This is going to get ugly. There are no special rules when it comes to objectivity. None. Meaning, when we say we're going to be objective, we don't say stuff like, well, I'm going to be objective about this situation except for blah, 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 blah. Or I'm going to be objective about this except for, no. Objectivity is an all or nothing deal. So when it comes to objectivity, there are no special rules. And that includes your family. Why is this important? Because if you're going to solve some conflict about your family, you got to be honest about how people in your family behave. This is after you've been honest about your part. You have to be honest about how people in your family behave and carry on. Now, I get it. We got some folk on here. Your family don't ever do nothing wrong. Your family ain't ever, your family members don't ever cause conflict, drama, tension, strife, whatever. But most of us, this ain't the case. And some of the reasons why many of you are dealing with family conflict is just because you won't acknowledge the fact that you have dysfunction in your family. Not my family, Doc. We don't have no dysfunction, Doc. Not us. No. And if we do, what happened in this house, stay in this house. It sounds good until people get grown and now they're dealing with all the trauma from what happened in the house. Mm-mm. Your honesty also includes being honest about the dysfunction that is in your family. And one easy way to manage conflict is to own the fact that you got dysfunction in your family. By being honest about the fact that, yeah, you do have some people that may not handle things the right way. You do have some people that you might need to be cautious of. Not me, Doc. Mm-mm. My family is perfect. No, no, blood thicker than water. No, not if you put a whole bunch of sugar in there. Put a whole bunch of sugar in there and put some honey in that water. It'll thicken up just like blood. It's not thicker. And we have to stop doing that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I get to the third thing. All right. When I get to the third thing, it's going to be a bloodbath. Because many of y'all are not going to like it. You don't like it now. But you're going to have to admit, and yes, that includes, great question. That includes your in-laws. That includes everybody. Y'all family. Everybody family. You might not be blood family, but your family. Now, some of you are being honest. A lot of you are being honest, Doc. We ain't got no family. Perfect. You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked at the number of clients I've talked to who literally try to defend the dysfunction of family members. Under the guise of things like, well, family, that's my family. We got to stick together. I'm not telling you to turn against your family. I'm not telling you to turn against your family. Being honest about something isn't turning against it. Both things can be correct at the same time. So calling something like it is not turning against your family, but ignoring it is perpetuating dysfunctional behavior. And many people are guilty of that. And then you wonder why there is so much conflict in your family. There is so much conflict in your family because turning a blind eye to that conflict is far worse than pointing out the dysfunction that's in your family. And it's wild. That's why for those of you, especially on the dating scene, let me tell you something. One good clean. We talk about red flags with people. You talk about red flags. Oh, if you see this, it's a red flag. If they do this, it's a red flag. Red flag, this, that. Red flag, whatever. Let me give you a green flag. One really good, clear green flag. If you're dating and you're meeting people and you're getting to know them, one green flag in meeting someone and getting to know them is if they are honest about the flaws in their family. That's a really good positive sign. It is. Because frankly, it takes courage to admit that you come from a place where there's some dysfunction. It's a green flag. We talk about red flags, but that's a clear green flag. We have to be honest about that. And people struggle with that. Why? Well, because they think there's special rules when it comes to objectivity, but there isn't. I want you to remember this. This is going to be a mouthful. You ready? Record this. Put it in your journals. You're going to be the smartest person at the water cooler tomorrow heading into the weekend. Lord knows I can't wait till the weekend gets here. I want you to record this now. You ready? Where there is no objectivity, there can be no three things. Where there is no objectivity, three things cannot exist. What are they? Where there is no objectivity, there is no ownership, responsibility, or accountability. Record it. Where there is no objectivity, which means I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to call a thing what it is. Where there is no objectivity, there can be no ownership, responsibility, or accountability. and this includes your family. If there is no objectivity related to your family and the dysfunction that is in your family, there can be no ownership, responsibility, or accountability. Which is why these cycles of problems, conflict, drama, whatever it is, tend to perpetuate themselves over and over and over again in a lot of families, because when there is no objectivity, then there can be no things like conversations where you encourage people to own stuff, or conversations where you encourage people to take responsibility for their behavior, or conversations, talks, engagement where you encourage people in your family to take accountability for their behavior. Not just well, that's just who they are stuff. Well, that's just aunt such and such, uncle such and such. That's just daddy. That's just mom. That's just what they do. Well, when you operate like that, thank you, Sakina, for the salad. When you operate that way, you're operating in a space where there is no objectivity. When you're operating in a space where there is no objectivity, then there is no ownership, responsibility, or accountability. It's that simple. And I don't care if that's your sister, your mama, I don't care who it is. Where there is no objectivity, there can be no ownership, responsibility, or accountability. And some of you, these cycles of family trauma and drama, take the T out, let's just use the D. These cycles of family drama that you've been dealing with, many of you have been dealing with for years, will never get resolved until objectivity shows up. Meaning, you got to call a spade a spade. If folk crazy, you got to call them crazy. If people are sometimey, you got to call them sometimey. Doc, are you telling me to be disrespectful? No, there's a way to do things. Don't y'all be extreme. I know this is the internet. I feel like I have to explain every little thing because Lord knows sometimes I wonder if people just think. So I shouldn't have to explain every little thing. That should be common sense. When I'm teaching healing, right? The goal is not for you to curse people out and call them crazy names. But you can tell the truth in love. Grow so you can tell the truth in love. But some of you, thank you, Jay Barrett. I appreciate that. Some of you absolutely ignore objectivity in your family. And then you do crazy stuff. Let me tell you how crazy this is. So you want to address people in your family in an honest way about their craziness, their behavior. But you know what you do? You get on social media. My glass is foggy. You want to address your family directly about this stuff, right? But you will turn right around. You will turn right around, get on social media, and put up memes and posts talking about family. And that's wild. When all you got to do is pick up the phone and call your family. Y'all, we will never address this if we think objectivity doesn't belong to family members. Because again, I want to say this really loud and clear. Where there is no objectivity, there is no ownership, there is no responsibility, and there is no accountability. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. And we continue to perpetuate the drama and the dysfunction in our family by what we refuse to address. And what you don't address, i.e., what you choose to ignore, you're going to get more of every time. Thank you, Jane, for the salad. I appreciate y'all. What you choose to address or to ignore, you're going to get more of every time. And here's the breaking news. Your family is not the exception. Your family's not the exception. Never has been, never will be. What you don't address the family dysfunction that exists in your family, and you're going to get more of it because your silence will perpetuate the dysfunction. And if they don't want to talk about it, you find peace in knowing you've attempted to bring it to their attention, because there's nothing worse than a person growing old and then saying stuff like, well, I never knew you had a problem with me. Tell you something. I've had situations where, especially with older clients in their 60s, 70s, who have been, approached, confronted by their children, at a late age. And they're like, I didn't know all of these things were going on. Like, they're like 70 something, their kids are like in their 50s. And all of a sudden they want to talk to them about things that happened when they were 12 or things that happened when they were 21. And they went all of these years not addressing the dysfunction. And so they bring it up in their parents' latter years. And many parents that don't have self-awareness, which we're going to talk about in just a second, but a lot of parents that don't have self-awareness or not operating in a place of honesty about who they are, where they are, what they're doing. So a lot of them, it is a surprise. Which is why you cannot wait all your life to address this stuff. Now, y'all can say they should know all of this stuff you want to. I'm not going to give y'all a generational studies breakdown again, because I would gladly do it, because a lot of my research was grounded in this. But the reality is, information age. Many of your parents didn't grow up with the internet. Did y'all realize that or not? Many of your parents didn't even know. Many of your parents thought counselors and therapists were of the devil. Y'all don't believe that, do you? Many of your parents, grandparents, thought you didn't need that. All you needed was Jesus and a whooping. And y'all gonna sit up here and hit me with the they should have known stuff? No, I'm not protecting nobody. I'm an equal opportunity truth teller. People don't like it, but I tell the truth, and I let anybody who's gonna get hit. And the truth of the matter is, the lost generation, or the silent generation, which is the generation before the boomers, did not grow up with Google. They didn't grow up with the internet. And boomers got it later in life. Right? Watch your parents in their late 50s, 60s, 70s try to talk to Siri and navigate the internet. It's a funny sight. Information is a new thing for them. For us, it's the norm. So to suggest that they should have known or they should know this stuff ain't all the way accurate. And let me take it a step further. Y'all ready? I'm gonna really piss y'all off. Let me just go on and do it. If I'm being 100% honest, they had less information and in many ways were a whole lot smarter. We got more information, and in a whole lot of ways we real dumber. I'm gonna say it again slow. Oh, Okinawa. Thank you so much. Viewer from Okinawa, Japan. My pleasure. Appreciate you tuning in. Did y'all hear what I said? It's funny how that generation didn't have computers, didn't have none of that stuff. But you know what they had that's missing in this generation? Doc, why is your work so powerful, so impactful, Doc? Why do you have this? Why do you have 900 and what? I think I'm in the 40s now. 940 some odd clients in 29 countries now. How did that happen? Yeah, I know the conceptual stuff. A lot of my stuff is laced in common sense. Good old-fashioned common sense and wisdom. That's what's missing in today's time. And it's funny that this generation has a whole lot of technology and got a lot of common sense. We equality this, diversity this, hear me this, my voice this. We're all of this stuff, but common sense, can't spell it. Technology has made us informed and shallow at the same time. So I get it, y'all. I'm not taking up for the elder generation that sometimes when you have these conversations with them, you want to talk about the dysfunction in the family with the elder person. I'm going to talk about that when I get to point number 3. I know how difficult that can be because a lot of times they can be older and stuck in their ways. Yes, I get it. I get it. But y'all, all of this ain't their fault. All of this ain't their fault. My grandma had an 8th grade education, man. Y'all hear me talk about my grandma all the time. One of the wisest ladies one of the wisest people I ever known. I miss sitting on the side of the church. And she had a raised up chair. I would finish helping my dad, and I would sit over there and talk to her after every service. And I could spend 10, 15 minutes with her and learn more in 10 to 15 minutes than I do sitting in some of these lectures with folks that's got PhD. Y'all do know PhD don't mean smart, don't you? I have one, a real one. Y'all do know PhD does not mean smart. PhD means learned. It means you become an expert in a subject matter. And a lot of people become experts in subject matters because they have strong work ethics, but they ain't necessarily the brightest crayon in the box. I've been around some dumb PhDs. So let's be clear here. So, y'all, all Doc is trying to say, for real, is this. Objectivity ain't greater than nobody. All of us have to be subject to objectivity, starting with us and then holding the people in our family accountable as well. Does that make sense? Now, everybody that's educated ain't no dummy. You're looking at one. I don't think I'm no dummy. I've been a nerd for most of my life, and I love it. I was a nerd before it was popular. Thick glasses and all. I love it. So all of us ain't no dummies with a PhD. Amen. Church with a whole bunch of R's. But there's a whole lot of folks walking around that's got these degrees, ain't got no common sense. And not enough common sense to realize that when there is drama in your family and conflict, it ain't always the other person. Sometimes it's you. So that's where healing starts. It starts with honesty. Y'all like the video, share the video. Let me get to point number 2. This making sense to anybody? This making sense? And again, other counselors, therapists, they'll just let you, some of them will just let you be delusional and let you conjure these ideas in your mind and pamper you while you have them. And I'll listen, but then we're going to get down to the truth. Topo Chico time, by the way, y'all already know, the unofficial sponsor of Biweekly Life Design with Dr. Sam. Topo Chico. Ooh, y'all know what we do. We always listen to the sizzle every week. Y'all ready? Here comes the sizzle. Let's go. Y'all, I'm just waiting on Topo Chico to just call me up. I don't know what's going on. With Saul and Taja. I don't know what's going on. Yes, got a supporter and hopefully a future client who is going to be retiring in 64 days from New Orleans. She's a teacher in NOLA. And I am going to try my best to get down there and just surprise her and be a part of that. I was really honored to be invited to that. So I'm looking forward to that. Congratulations to you for retiring. Yeah, she's a school teacher in New Orleans. And I think Tell me, my friend, how many years you've been teaching in New Orleans? I think she's a chemistry teacher. How many years has it been, my friend? Let me know. I want to shout you because that's a big. I come from a family of educators. My father's a school superintendent, and my sister is a great teacher as well, and now an administrator. My aunt's an administrator in education. My brother is an administrator. I mean, as a teacher. My sister, sister-in-law, sister is a teacher. 32 years in high school chemistry. Yikes! I hated chemistry. That's a different conversation for a different day. 32 years in high school chemistry, and just so excited for her and proud of her, and honored to get that invitation. And I'm trying to figure out my schedule to get there and maybe pop in for a day, just to show up at the celebration. Never met her in person, but I love to support people who supported me, and this is what this is all about. Maybe see if I can grab some friends to meet me down there. All right. So congratulations to you, my friend, and everybody shoot her congratulations. Look at all the congrats coming through. Y'all are so kind. Thank you, Camille, for the Topo Chico love. I haven't even drunk any because I'm busy talking. Thank you so much, Lady Blur. Come back and check it out later. I think I'm gonna keep this up. Yeah, special educator, high school, 15 years. Going strong. And many teachers. Shout out to all the teachers. Again, I come from a family of educators and spent most of my professional year in higher ed before doing this work full time. And so I do have an affinity for education and instruction. And so I appreciate your work. All right. So the number one rule of thumb was objectivity. Here's the second thing we got to keep in mind. Y'all ready? This should sound like a broken record, but let's get into it. The second thing you got to keep in mind after you clear the objectivity hurdle when we're talking about managing family conflict is this. You got to understand that self-awareness is a critical second step. Self-awareness is a critical second step, meaning that after you have come to a base or an understanding of the impact of objectivity and being able to address family challenges, then you got to operate in self-awareness. What's self-awareness? We should know that definition by now, but I want you to record it in case you don't. And this is your first time watching this. Self-awareness is what, y'all? Honesty about who you are, where you are, what you're doing. It's the definition I created for self-awareness many years ago that my clients know by heart. Because I look at them and I say, are we operating in self-awareness? And they'll look back and I'll say, do you remember what it is? Yes, doc. Honesty about who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. This is an important second step because you cannot correct or address, record this in all caps, you cannot correct or address who or what you are. You cannot correct or address who or what you are. You cannot correct or address who or what you are. Meaning, if you are it, you can't address it. If you are it, you can't correct it. If you are a liar, it's going to be hard to correct a liar. If you are fake, it's going to be hard to correct someone that you think is not being authentic. If you are it, you can't address it or correct it. So some of this conflict that you're trying to manage in your family is a result of many of us not having our own stuff together. Besides, y'all, it's hard to confront somebody on their own stuff when you got your own stuff going on. Old gospel quartet song by the Williams brothers that I used to hear as a little boy in church growing up said, sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine. And I'm going to tell you, many of your relatives are going to hear many of y'all out a little bit more clearer when you get your own life together. Many of your relatives are going to be able to receive your criticism when you can get your own life together. And I told a mentee this about a week ago. I told a mentee this about a week ago, and she is trying to get into podcasting, and she wants to. She knew I was going to share this, by the way. She said, "I don't care, Doc. Go ahead. That's fine. Maybe somebody else will learn too." She's trying to get into podcasting, and she wants to help women heal through emotional challenges and some challenges that they have, as it relates to controlling their emotions and managing their emotions and using their emotions as a superpower to be the best versions of themselves they can be, blah, blah, blah. Great stuff. And so we were having a talk, and she was telling me all of this stuff about strategy and how she wanted to try to roll it out and do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm create this program and and I'm gonna roll out this program. I'm gonna have this kind of model, and I'm gonna do this stuff. And she's saying all this stuff. And I said to her, I said, "This is great." I said, I think this is a great idea. I said, "But let me ask you a question. I want you to be very honest with me." I said, "Your strategy looks beautiful, looks wonderful, right? I can tell you've been working around me. We've been talking about some things. Strategy looks great." I said, "But can I ask you a serious question?" I said, "Before you get out here and launch this big campaign to do what you're doing, have you done the work that it takes to make sure that your emotions are under control?" Just like that. I said, "Have you done the work that it takes to make sure that your emotions are under control and regulated?" She was like, "I mean, Doc, I have, Doc. I mean, I'm working on it." I said, "Listen to me, sweetheart. Thank you, Shauna Leah. I appreciate that." I said, "Listen to me, sweetheart." I said, "Listen to me. It's gonna be easy for you to address stuff that you've corrected. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Doc talks about a lot of things on his channel and with his clients, and a lot of stuff. Doc's been through a lot of things that many people aren't even aware of. My first next YouTube video should be releasing this weekend, and I'm gonna talk about it. And it's gonna be a powerful video on authenticity. And I'm gonna share some things with many of you that many of you don't know about me. Um, life can teach you lessons if you allow it to teach you. But let me tell you something, you better learn those lessons before you get out here and try to teach somebody something that you ain't quite conquered yourself. I ain't saying you got to be perfect, but what I am saying is that it's going to be hard for you to correct or address who and what you still are. Which is why there's some topics some people can't talk about because they still do it. I can't tell you to stop doing this, and I do it. I can't tell you to stop doing this, and this stuff happens. And it happens in family conflict. It happens in relationship conflict. It happens in all of these spaces. Why? Because people aren't looking at themselves first. Now, I want to say to you that when you attempt to correct or address who or what you are not, when you attempt to correct or address who or what you are, meaning you haven't changed it, let me tell you something. And I'll be honest with you here. It doesn't mean you don't have a voice. It just means when you talk, you just have an opinion. And I said to my mentee, you can go out here and start the podcast and do what you're going to do, but you won't have a voice. You'll just have an opinion. I said, do you know the difference between a voice and an opinion? I said, an opinion is what you see in the comments. Everybody got one. A voice is what stands the test of time. A voice is the voice that people listen to that transforms lives. I said, so try to when you don't try to correct or address who and what you are, you might have a voice, but you really got more of just an opinion. And there's a lot of people that's got a lot to say, but the reason why they just got an opinion and not a voice is because you can't correct or address who or what you are. Yeah, that was salad worthy right there. Doc, why you eating these Reese's? Because I'm hungry. I ain't had time to eat later tonight. It was just what it was. It was a busy day. Are y'all listening to me? So a reasonable first step in addressing what's wrong with your family is honestly acknowledging what's wrong with you. And I'll tell you, many of you are going to be surprised, because I've seen this happen so many times, that your family member will become more receptive. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes some folk some people just dysfunctional, and it doesn't matter how you show up; they're not going to receive you anyway. Okay, can I say that? They're not going to receive you anyway. Some people are just dysfunctional, but there are some people that will receive you better when they see that you've made the change, you've made the transformation. For some of you, your change is going to inspire the change in your family. Your change is going to inspire change behavior in your family. You breaking some of your habits is going to inspire the change in some of your family. You fixing your flaws is going to encourage people in your family to think seriously about their own. I really believe that in many cases, the transformation that we want to see in others first starts with us. It does. So we don't change so they will change. We change because changing's right. Because when you change just so other people will change, you're operating from a standpoint of a means to an end. That would make you inauthentic. That would make you fake. Right? You don't be nice so people will be nice to you. You be nice because being nice is the right thing to do. It's like I tell people all the time. I told a gentleman this week, he's one of my new clients. He was a great guy. He took the truth like a G. But I said to him, he wants his wife back. He messed up 2 big times and he wants her back. And I said, you can have it back. I said, but let me tell you something, brother. When we go on this journey we're about to go on, this is what I need you to do. I said, I need you to start this journey, but I need you to get into this work not to get your wife back. He said, what? I said, yeah. I don't want you to hire me. If you're going to hire me, great. But I don't want you to hire me to get your wife back. That's not my job. He said, what? I said, it's not my job. He said, are you serious? I said, yes, sir. I said, yes, sir. It is not my job. I said, yes, sir. It is not my job to get your wife back. He said, really? I said, no. I said, my job is to help you fix you. Your wife might get hit by a train tomorrow. Or your wife might decide 6 months down the road, 3 months down the road, she don't want to do this no more. What you gonna do? Throw in all of this work in the trash because she doesn't want to be with you? No, we don't change so people will accept us. We change because changing's right. We don't change so other people will change. We change because changing is right. Put that in the comments. We change because changing is right. And I'll be frank with you. Many of you are having some of these family challenges and challenges even in your relationships and connections with others because you're changing in hopes that because you change, they will change. It's the wrong mentality. We change because changing's right. Not because we're going to get rewarded with them changing. Not because we're going to get rewarded with them doing better. No, we just do better because doing better is right. That's why we change. That's why you should be changing. Is this making sense? So that's the first step. You got to acknowledge what's wrong with you. And this is why this is without excuses. This is without justification. Okay. Here's the third thing I want to talk about. Then I want to give you quick ways you can manage family conflict, and I'm done. Okay. We change because changing is right. That's why you change. You don't change to get people back. You don't change to get your wife back, your husband back, your boyfriend back, your ex back. You don't change to make your kids do better. You change because doing better is the right thing to do. That's why we change. If it's going to be authentic. Yeah, t-shirt stuff is coming soon too. I got so many projects, y'all. When I tell y'all, I'll work from sun up to sundown, including managing my kids' life and what they're doing, where they're at. I work from sun up to sundown. That's all I do. Doc got a boring life. Thank you, Teresa, for the salad. I appreciate it. Here's the third thing I want you to remember, y'all, about managing conflict, family conflict. You ready? Thank you, Kiki. I appreciate you. Y'all, again, forgive me. Doc ain't had much to eat. So he's wearing his Reese's out. Here's the third thing I want you to remember about family conflict. You ready? This is not going to make sense when I say it, but I want you to hear me out. I want you to record it. Put it in the comments. Both order and ethics matter. Record it. Both order, when it comes to managing family conflict, both order and ethics matter. Both order and ethics. I'm going to explain this because y'all probably going to just like, what? I'm going to make it make sense. Thank you, Comeback Queen. I appreciate you. That was really sweet. I promise you that was more than enough. Both order and ethics matter. Doc, what you mean by that? Let me explain. Yes, it's important that we honor our parents, that we honor our family members, that we honor those in our family that are older than us. That's the right thing to do. So when I say order matters, I mean, yeah, your parents, some of y'all not going to like this. Just by virtue of having you, your parents deserve some respect. I know some of you about to go crazy. Hold on. Not my parents. My parents crazy. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. I'm going to get to that in a second because I said order and ethics matter. Bear with me. Bear with me. Y'all ain't going to like this, I know. Just by virtue of your parents having you, you owe them respect. And I'm telling you, I've had clients who have been severely mistreated by their parents. I don't have that testimony. I'm blessed. I believe I've got the greatest mom and dad that walked the face of the earth. Okay? So Doc is blessed. I'm not going to make it like I'm not. Okay? I'm blessed. But listen to me. By virtue of the simple fact that they had you, you owe them respect. And some of you are going to be struggling with that statement because you really Mentally and emotionally, it doesn't make sense. But if it made sense mentally and emotionally, then you would be able to receive it spiritually, because it really is a higher spiritual principle that you honor your mother and father regardless. That's a spiritual principle. So those of you without a spiritual compass, you won't get it. You won't get it. Those of you without a spiritual principle, you won't get this. You won't get what I'm saying. Well, Doc, my mom did this. My daddy did this. My mama want this. My daddy want this. I get it. There is such a thing as a bad parent. I get it. But honor in the context of your parents or those older or more seasoned than you, honor is a spiritual principle. This is why this world, this culture we live in, struggle with this. They struggle. I got clients right now, young clients that ain't talking to their parents, refuse to talk to them, refuse to extend the olive branch, refuse to try to engage them. And I try to let them know. I try to let them know, to whom much is given, much more is required. When you're doing this work, you're working on the 5 areas of healing that I teach: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial healing. You're working to heal all areas of your life, and your folks ain't working on nothing, and they've been bad parents. Yeah, all of a sudden you become the adult. And the mature thing to do in that case is to act like you've been given more. It's hard. Well, Doc, you don't get it. I see it in the comments. My parents toxic. My parents this. My parents mean. My parents is that. My parents a liar. My parents is that. I get it. This is why it's a spiritual principle. You know why? Because to your mind and your emotions, what I'm saying right now don't make sense. To your mind and your emotions, what I'm saying makes zero sense. But this ain't a matter of your mind, and this ain't a matter of your emotions. This is a spiritual principle that if they gave you life, you owe them honor. Oh, look at the comments are slow. My views are already low tonight. I think we finally reached 200 or 500 viewers. Finally, I believe. We finally reached it. This is a low night for us on all networks. Low night. I know this is hard. But this is why it's a spiritual principle. And a lot of people don't understand these kind of concepts because these are spiritual principles. And it's hard to explain a spiritual principle to someone who doesn't have a spiritual foundation. It's like me talking to this wall right here and expecting a response. So I'm not going to go back and forth with y'all. Just either you get it or you don't. Put this in all capital letters, y'all. Y'all know my favorite word. What am I about to tell you to type in the comments? What is it? Let's see how well y'all know me. What I want you to type in the comments right now. Huh? This stuff is all about what? Levels. Thank you, Just Nate. Y'all know me well. It don't take levels. 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 Okay? So I want to say that first before I get into what I'm going to say. Honor and honoring people in our family, particularly our parents and those that are older than us, that's a spiritual matter. But watch this. I want you to remember this. Age nor generation matters more than truth and what's right. Here's the other side of this. Age nor generation, what generation they're in the family, matters more than truth and what's right. Which means truth and what's right is more important than who your mom and your daddy is. Truth and what's right is more important than who your grandma is, who your aunts, uncles are. Truth and what's right is more important than who your brothers, sisters, cousins are. So when I say both order and ethics matter, yeah, order matters in the sense of honor for sure. We owe our elders, our family members. If you're related to them, you should try to extend honor and respect and decency to your family. But none of that trumps ethics. Both order and ethics matter. I'm going to say it. Look, age and patriarchy is important. I believe in patriarchy. Every family has a matriarch and a patriarch that set the tone for families. I believe in that. Matriarchy, patriarchy, patriarchal, matriarchal order, those things matter in families. But listen to me. While that's important, we got to stop giving a pass to dysfunction. If Papa was a Rolling Stone, you got to be willing to admit that. That might explain some of the problems you got with relationships. Grandma was a Rolling Stone, you got to admit that. That might explain some problems reasons why you have a hard time keeping a man. I don't know. You got to admit that. Doc, I can't admit that, Doc, because that's my grandma. That's my. It doesn't mean you're disrespecting them. You're being honest about what it was. And it's crazy because then y'all get grown. You get grown. You get in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Your parents are either really old or unfortunately they're deceased. And you're dealing with all of these challenges. And you're like, Doc, I don't know where to point this to. And so once you finally start peeling back the onion and learning about your family history and who people were, then all of a sudden this stuff makes sense. You were hot in the pants because they were. And nobody had the courage to talk about it. Because in many of our families, we would rather ignore dysfunction and think that ignoring it will make it go away. So ignoring it becomes safe. Ignoring it doesn't ruffle the feathers. Ignoring it keeps everybody well. People go to their grave, spend the rest of eternity in their grave with secrets they take to their grave that living family members are afraid to discuss. Not realizing that it is the discussion of those challenges that sometimes hold the key to you unlocking some of this family conflict you're dealing with. So we got to be honest about this, y'all. Okay? We have to be honest about this because if we're not honest about the dysfunction that happens, regardless of age, regardless of generation, regardless of matriarch, patriarch, etc., if we're not honest about it, y'all, this is how we create what I call generations of dysfunction. It's simple. That the previous generation passes on to the next generation its dysfunction when the dysfunction of the previous generation has gone unchecked, undiscussed, undisclosed. You pass that dysfunction to the next generation, who has learned the same coping mechanisms of not talking about it, not addressing it, not putting it on the table, and you just continue to pass it to the next generation. This is how generational dysfunction passes from generation to generation. You see, if I want to pick on the older generation, one thing that I've observed in my work and just in conversations with friends and things like that too, is that I really do believe one of the flaws of the older generation, again, no, let me just say this plainly before y'all get upset. No generation is perfect. Just y'all, oh my gosh. No, how do I cut the comments off? No generation is perfect. Okay. So I'm not suggesting that any generation is perfect. But can I say this? Every generation has its challenges. And one of the challenges of the older generation is that the older generation in many ways would have rather went to their grave with their secrets than to discuss those things with people in their family, make those things aware with people in their family, so that when they die, their family members are not left with the bag of drama. And I know many of you know this story. You've heard this story many times where, papa, grandma, great papa, great grandma, auntie, uncle, whoever, somebody dies. Well, you know what you learn? You got a long lost cousin somewhere. you got a brother in 4 states that live 4 miles away that you never knew you had. It's that generation. One of the knocks to that silent generation that didn't have a lot of technology, but they had what they perceived to be loyalty, what they perceived to be what they perceived to be protection. Though I don't know, they could have meant well. I don't know if it was always the best approach. But one of the knocks on that generation is that many of them went to their graves with secrets that then passed, with secrets that were later revealed that passed the dysfunction from their generation to the next one. Now, look, don't y'all be absolute and don't let's not be absolute, and let's not act like we don't get this. I didn't say take your business and put it on social media, did I? Y'all are so absolute. I didn't say that. I didn't say you need to print an article and put it out in the newspaper. I said you need to make your family aware. People who are part of your bloodline. That ain't putting business in the street. That's letting your family know. And some of you won't get this because this dysfunction has been passed to many of you. And you can tell by the way you move, the way you move and operate. Many of you, instead of addressing problems, will just say, well, I'll just keep that in my head and I'll go to my grave with it. You're literally the recipients of that dysfunction, and you carry yourself that way. And again, you can understand, to them, that was loyalty. To them, keeping a mistake hidden was protecting the family. They didn't think futuristically, that could create harm's way for the family, that could pass dysfunction and trauma to the next generation. They didn't think that way. Okay, so this isn't as much about disparaging them as it is just about being honest about every generation. That, by the way, has its own flaws, y'all. Okay? But y'all, we got to stop. This is how generations of dysfunction are created. We got to stop giving people a pass because they old. We got to stop giving people a pass because they're your cousin. You got to stop giving people a pass because they your brother, your sister. You got to stop giving people a pass on this dysfunction. Now, I'm not saying walk around and be the dysfunction police and all you doing is spending all day pointing out what people did. I'm not talking about that, y'all. I'm talking about when situations arise where there is conflict in your family, having the courage and the authenticity to be able to speak about these things and do it in a way that is respectful so that these things don't continue to perpetuate more conflict and drama and trauma into your family. We have to be well. This is all I'm saying, y'all. I can't get with that. This is the thing. It's going to lead me to the 3 ways to manage family conflict, and then I'm done. Let's just get into that real quick because I'm about to get into number 1. Let me give y'all real quick 3 ways to manage family conflict. Quickly, y'all. I don't see April tonight. She's usually my timekeeper. Keeper. I don't know if she's tuned in. If you are April. 3 ways you can manage family conflict. Y'all, is this making sense? I'm going to give you 3 ways to manage family conflict. I just gave you 3 things to consider as it related to family conflict, right? We have to, number 1, we have to be objective about conflict. Number 2, we have to realize that self-awareness is a critical second step, right? Self-awareness is a critical second step. And number 3, both order and ethics matter, right? Y'all got that, right? Both order and ethics matter. Let me give you 3 practical, easy ways to manage family conflict. Well, they're not necessarily easy, but they're very practical, easy to understand. Y'all ready? 3 practical ways to manage family conflict. Number 1, I was just getting ready to say it, and I said, let me just go on and skip to this part now. Number 1, get comfortable having difficult conversations. You want to manage some family conflict? Get comfortable having difficult conversations. Nothing will help you navigate through family conflict like finding the comfort of having a difficult conversation. Some of you think you have to be confrontational. You don't have to be confrontational. You don't have to be arrogant, rude, loud, mean. You don't have to be any of those things to have a difficult conversation. You have a difficult conversation with a calm tone, with centered emotions, and do it just fine. You can manage family conflict by getting comfortable having, number 1, getting comfortable having difficult conversations. What was the last, for those of you that have conflict in your families and you're struggling with some level or some type of family conflict, when was the last time y'all had a serious, difficult conversation and that conversation was respectful? People's voices were heard. There wasn't a bunch of screaming and yelling, people hanging up the phone, walking out. When was the last time you had a very difficult conversation like that? And the truth is, and I appreciate many of you being honest, I'm looking at the comments and people saying, never, Doc, never. Like literally, it's never happened. Which means, y'all ready, y'all? Guess what? All of y'all that are tuned in, those of you that are getting therapy, counseling, coaching, you're getting all of this stuff, you're working on yourself, and you're dealing with people in your family who don't like difficult conversations, but you're getting all of this work and you're being empowered with all of this work, and they're not doing anything because they could probably just die and be okay not having a difficult conversation. Go to the grave with the secrets, or go to the grave with the harshness, or go to the grave with the anger, or whatever it is they feel. They can go to the grave with that. But guess what? Here you are doing all this work. Guess what, y'all? I got some bad news. Y'all listening? Is this thing going? Where's my camera? This thing on? Huh? I got some bad news. There we go. There we go. Camera on. I got some bad news. Y'all ready? Since you're doing all of this work on yourself, you might end up being the one that has to lead the difficult conversations. And I know many of you don't like that. So that's why I'm saying to you, many of you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Hey, Ms. America, good to see you, my friend. Many of you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's going to start with you. You can't claim to be the bigger person in some things, but you ain't the bigger person in all things. You can't claim to be the boss in some things, but you're not the boss in all things. Now, listen, y'all, let's just be evolved and let's be smart. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, though sometimes I wonder why I should. I give y'all the benefit of the doubt. It's obvious you can't have a conversation by yourself. So if you walk to a person in your family and you want to have a difficult conversation about some problems and conflict that y'all are having, and they refuse to talk, you can't make them talk. But let me tell you something that I've learned. I've learned this, that when you make the effort and they don't respond, you find something that a therapist, counselor, coach can't give you. You know what it is? It's called peace. And some of you don't have no peace, not because they're not being responsive. You don't have no peace because you ain't tried. That was the best thing I said tonight. Some of you don't have no peace, not because they ain't being responsive. Some of you don't have any peace, not because they're not going to listen. Some of you don't have any peace, not because they won't answer the phone. Some of you don't have no peace because you ain't tried. Because let me tell you something. When you try and they don't respond, then your job then is to seek peace. Seek peace where, Doc? Right here. I know. This is a struggle for many of y'all. Because many of y'all just, this is why this levels. This is in many ways a spiritual conversation too. My work is grounded in all five. Isn't it, Shireen? I see you. It's grounded on. I don't just talk to folks about their mental and emotional well-being. That's great. Tap into the spiritual stuff too, physical and financial stuff. It's holistic. And listen, when you have tried and they have not responded, you got to shake the dust off your feet, find peace, and continue to grow forward. Y'all, levels. There are levels. There are levels, y'all. That's a good question. I see. Oh, I'm glad I happened to look down. Halasia, thank you, Ms. McCoy, for that question. How do you handle it if they respond in an ugly manner? It's not about how they respond. It's not. You can't control their response. So if you attempt to make the effort and they don't respond in a favorable way, you cannot control that. Your job is to do what bigger people do, and that's your job. That's it. That's it. That's all. You're not responsible for how they respond. You're not responsible for if they go off. You're not responsible for if they snap at you. You're not responsible for none of that. So you got to find a way to start it. How you start it? Very much is contingent on the type of personality maybe you have, maybe the type of personality they have. I wish I could just give you a cookie cutter formula that goes across the board. But I'm telling y'all, we have to understand that we've got to be comfortable. You can't expect them to get comfortable with difficult conversations when they ain't doing no work. They ain't doing no work to grow. They ain't seeing no counselor, therapist, coach. They're not doing no inner work. They're not working on themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They're not doing these things. You can't expect them to just come out and just say, oh, I want to have a hard conversation. No, it's going to start with you. It's going to start with you. I'll say this really quickly. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how fear changes us when we grow up? Let me say this quickly. I feel like I'm going to run a little bit over tonight. I'll probably kill the Q&A. This is important stuff. I'll keep this live up. Y'all give me 15 more minutes. Isn't it funny how fear changes us when we grow up? That when you are 6 months old, 6 months old, 9 months old, you're up, you're trying to walk around. I think I got my age right for that. I can't remember. Even for my kids, how old they were when they started trying to walk. But isn't it funny, though, that when you're, 6, 9, 10 months, and you're up and you're trying to walk, you're trying to walk around as a kid, you have zero fear, do you? You don't have any fear at all, right? A little kid can be 10, 11 months, will see a hot stove. That stove will be piping hot. Maybe you left it open, you're getting chicken out, you're pulling some out the stove. And that 10, 11, 12-month-old kid will see that stove and do what? Walk towards it. With no comprehension, sense of awareness that what I'm walking to, y'all better catch the revelation. The analogy prince is on the air. With no revelation that what I'm walking to can not only burn me, it might kill me. Y'all remember that? You were 10, 11, 12 months. You would just walk anywhere. You just had no fear whatsoever. The context didn't matter. All this stuff we ask for as adults, this information age adults. We gotta have this and this. None of that. And then they become 2 and 3. And yeah, they become a little bit more aware, but they still don't have the fear to try new things. They'll try new things. They'll jump off of couches, not realizing like what I did at the age of 2. You hit the ground wrong, you break your arm. I broke my arm. My daughter fell off the bed, did the same thing, broke her arm. Right? With no awareness of any of this stuff. But watch this. As we get older, fear rises because we become more aware of what's around us. And not only do we become more aware of what's around us, what is around us begins to determine and dictate our behaviors more than what's inside of us. I feel like this is going over many of y'all's heads. My stomach is growling. I ain't had no support in like 40 minutes. What's going on? Are y'all listening to me? What is around us starts to become more important than what's in us. So by the time you're a full-fledged adult, you're scared of everything. Dogs, goldfish, clowns. You're scared of Candyman. You're scared of everything. Why? Because all of a sudden, what's out here is more important than what's in here. And there's a reason why, as a believer, one of my favorite verses says that Jesus challenges us to come to him as children. There's a reason why. Because children have a lot of properties that grown-ups don't have. Like, they ain't got a lot of fear. They're willing to try stuff. Watch this. You can hurt them. They're going to cry, but give them a few minutes and they're going to be all right. Some of us, we get lied on and we don't talk to people for 15 years. Y'all not listening. You're not listening. And this is why I'm saying to all of you, this getting comfortable with having difficult conversations is going to start with you because you're getting this work, y'all. You're getting this work. And to whom much is given, what? Much more is required. You're getting this work. You're going to have to operate in this work. Again, use your logical mind. And to you, mentally and emotionally, this won't make sense. Y'all, having difficult conversations that you have to start with people who don't want to talk, that's a spiritual principle, which means if this don't make sense, you got to grow spiritually. If what I'm saying to you ain't making sense, it is a clear indicator that spiritually you ain't on the grid. Is this making sense? Right? So I'm giving you 3 practical ways to manage family conflict. Number 1, get comfortable having difficult conversations. Number 2, this is going to be good. Y'all ready? Ooh, I couldn't wait to share this one. Number 2, y'all ready? This is making sense? Good. Number 2, good, good. I ain't seen no churches tonight with a bunch of R's. I ain't seen a lot of salads tonight. I don't know what's going on with y'all, but maybe y'all locked in. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. All right? Second practical way you can manage family conflict: construct proper boundaries. And I'm going to give you 2 easy ways you can construct proper boundaries with family. You ready? Right? Construct proper boundaries. How? Well, here's one way: master the word no. Did y'all hear what I said? Some of y'all need to put that in all caps. Master the word no. Because some of you refuse to tell your family no. Why? Because it's family. I know people who have gone into hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because of family. And they refuse to tell them no. Why? Because that's family. Master the word no. When you get good at saying no, that'll help with some of this family conflict. And I'm talking about saying no to your mama, to your daddy, to your brothers, sisters, and especially to your children. Oh, my kids really, I know I get on their nerves. I can only imagine the stuff they say about me under their breath when they walk off. I can only imagine. And listen, I think I'm a decent dad. I think so. I think I'm a decent dad. One of the reasons why I think I'm a decent dad is because my kids don't get everything they want. They get a lot of things. They're blessed. They have gotten more at their age than I was able to receive at their age from my parents. And my parents, I think, are the closest to perfect that exists. My parents did the best they could with what they had, and they continued to work hard and grew, and we grew with them. As the oldest of 3, my brother and sister have to admit this. I don't know if they're watching. They have to admit I had it the hardest. I was oldest. My daddy was making, I know he don't mind me saying it, I think my daddy was making sound like an $8,000 a year contract when I was a baby. I was making a lot of money. By the time my brother and sister got here, he was starting to move. He was rolling a little bit, working multiple jobs, doing his thing. But they did the best they could. But my kids will tell you, they know every answer with me ain't a yes. And so they're trying to get slick. They'll call their mama. And then their mama will call me and be like, Zeb, your daughter called me, right? We have a wonderful relationship. Thank you, Tina, for the salad. I appreciate that. Wonderful relationship. Your daughter called me, right? What, why? Because I told her she could, yep. You have to get off the phone and call her down and say, don't call your mama. You over here. Your mama can't save you. And I don't call I don't let you call me when you're with her. And she tells you no. See, a lot of you struggle to tell your grown kids no. You ready? Because you never told them no when they were kids. Well, oh man. I want to do a live on parenting so bad, but I just don't even know if y'all could handle my philosophies on parenting. Not in this modern culture we live in that just let your kids do what they want to do, talk to you any kind of way they want to talk to you, handle you any kind of way they want to handle you, say anything to you that they want to say, and y'all just let them do it. Because hey, that's my kid, and my kid has a voice. Okay. They can have a voice, but they don't have a voice to be disrespectful. So no, you got to master the word no, and that includes to your kids, whether they young kids or adult kids. For some of you, you have to tell your parents no. Some of you, some of you have to tell your parents no. Y'all, I'll do that parenting. If y'all really want that kind of smoke, I'll do it. But I'm telling you, it's gonna be smoke. It's gonna be smoke, y'all, because we have to, as parents, we have to keep our foot on the basics. Yes, progress with the times. I have fun with my kids. Y'all, many of you have seen them on my stories. Y'all seen them on my stories. I have fun with my kids. I think one of the greatest compliments I always receive is, you know, Zeb, you're a great dad. You're such a great dad. I love that. But in that same breath, my kids don't get everything they want. And when I tell them no, I teach them how to take no. You're not gonna pout when I say no. You're gonna fix your face after I tell you no. Oh my God, doc. Oh my gosh. I'm calling social services. Call them. But when I tell you no, you're gonna take no well. Because if you don't take it well from me, you'll grow up having fits when people tell you no. So let me help you develop your temperament for the word no. So when you hear no, you still have a positive attitude. I know. We don't even believe in that kind of raising no more. Not at all. Y'all let folks say and do to y'all, your kids say and do to y'all what they want to do. So you got to master that. Here's the second way you can construct proper boundaries. Many of y'all gonna like this. Stop, Sean. I see you, Sean. You calling them 1-800 child abuse. I had a buddy of mine who said he told his kids told them they couldn't do something. They got mad. He said, "You can call social service." They said, "What's the number?" He said, 1-800 child abuse. It was so funny. It was a joke, but it was funny. But I get it. I get it. I get it. But y'all don't want to parent your kids. Let me tell you something. You can construct proper boundaries by mastering the word no. And watch this. I want everybody to put this in the comments. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Put this in the comments. You ready? Don't confuse invitations with obligations. We're talking about setting boundaries with family, right? Watch this. Don't confuse invitations with obligations. This is so salad worthy, man. Y'all, oh my gosh. Maybe I didn't do well tonight. Don't confuse invitations with obligations. I ain't gave you the third practical way yet. I'm giving you two ways to set proper boundaries. We're getting there. Don't confuse invitations with obligations. Watch this. Y'all, don't let family guilt trip you for not always being available. Some of you, your greatest form of conflict with your family is them being mad because you don't show up at every event, that you can't be present every time there's an event or activity, as if you don't work, as if you don't have obligations, as if you don't have a family to care for. And some of y'all are confusing invitations with obligations, which means just because you invited don't mean you have to be there. One of the things I love about my parents, I love about my parents. Y'all don't like this. I know. Yeah. I have clients who talk about this, who talk about how they get blackballed by their family because they can't always make it to every outing. And their family goes out multiple times a week. And they're like, "Doc, I'm an attorney. I got client cases. How am I going to go out 3, 4 times a week?" And they get guilt tripped by their families because their family members confuse invitations and obligations. They ain't the same. One of the things that I love about my parents, many things I love about my parents, but one thing I really love about my parents is that my parents know incredibly how hectic my schedule is. And even with their understanding, I've grown to a place as they're getting older. I've grown to a place where, and I talk to my kids about this all the time, where I say to them, Daddy's got to do a good job of even just getting in the car and just randomly going down there and bringing them, loading them in the car. We randomly go down there, maybe a weekday, it doesn't always have to be a weekend, and go down there and just sit with them for a while. Maybe eat and just talk to them. Because when they have a lot of times when they have events and things going on, they're in Virginia and they have events and things going on, I can't always make it. Not at all. And they've never guilt tripped me. They've always been like, Zeb, we understand you're doing so many great things. We're proud of you. They're so supportive. They're without a doubt such great support for me. But some of you aren't fortunate enough to come from those environments. Some of you get guilt tripped when you can't come to everything. You can't be in every place. And that's not cool. It's not cool. Y'all, stop confusing invitations with obligations. Because they ain't the same. You ain't going to be able to make every family event. And you don't have to be rude about it. Y'all always invite me to something. Y'all always, You have to do all that. Listen, y'all. Hey, I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate, the invitation, and of course, I love my family. I just can't make it. I got a lot of projects going on right now. Maybe I can make the next one. Y'all just continue to keep me in. No, some of y'all got family members. They take you out the group chat. They start separate group chats. They take you out. Start talking about you in the new one. Come on, y'all. Come on. And I think that's a really good comment. I said really good comment on IG. A lot of African families would see it as pride. Meanwhile, you have things to do. I agree. A lot of this is cultural. Look at y'all. Look at y'all giving me the clock like April. A lot of y'all. Yes, it was a pleasure meeting you at the Ethiopian restaurant last week as well. Thank you so much. It was really cool. My first time having Ethiopian food. It was really good. In DC. Yeah, a lot of cultures do take it that way. They take it as, disrespect or, you not wanting to be a part of the family or whatever it is. And that's not always the case. It really isn't, especially for those of you that love family. And I love my family. Absolutely love my family. I have an amazing family. All right. But y'all, that's two easy ways where you can construct boundaries. Proper boundaries. Again, master the word no. And don't confuse invitations with obligations. Okay? Here's the third and final way you can practically manage family conflict, and then I'm done. I'm going to give you a couple announcements and I'm gone. Okay? Third and final way. Don't confuse obligations and responsibilities. Third and practical way you can manage family conflict. Don't confuse obligations and responsibilities. Yeah, this is definitely Gigi. It's definitely cultural sometimes. Make no mistake about it. I'm mindful of that. I'm mindful, and my clients that have this challenge as it relates to their culture, they really have a hard time getting their families to see these things, and so it becomes cultural and in many ways generational, because these ideals are passed culturally from one generation to the next, and so you got two things you're dealing with, not just a culture, but also a generation, right? And so you have to deal with both of those things. All right, y'all, I promise you, I'm done in 3 minutes. Don't confuse obligations and responsibilities. This is the third way. What does that mean by that? What do I mean by that? I mean, it's duty versus requirement. Sometimes when it comes to your family, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm being asked to do a duty, meaning voluntary ownership of something, or requirement, mandatory ownership? They want me to be involved in this. Is this a duty or is this a requirement? They want me to respond to this. Is it a duty? Is it a requirement? When we can tell the difference, y'all, then it puts us at peace when we determine how we should respond moving forward. Because some things, as it relates to our family and just people in general, are things that are done or requested, or things that are done out of duty. Some things we will address, we will handle, we will be a part of, or out of duty. What's duty? That is voluntary ownership. When we voluntarily own a situation, voluntarily own an assignment, voluntarily own an action, voluntarily own a conflict, whatever it is. And some things that we deal with are requirements, right? And I think Denisha on don't mean to call your name out, Denisha on TikTok, made a really good comment that it relates in that way as well. She said, that's how I feel about extracurricular BS at my job, right? But it's funny, but that's a way you can look at it, right? It's the same way many people evaluate their jobs, right? Where they say, hey, is this duty? Is this something I need to voluntarily own? Or is this a requirement? Is this something I have to be at? Sometimes you got to deal with family conflict the same way. Is this something I voluntarily got to get in? Or is this something that's a requirement for me? Is this something that, let me take that back. Is this something I can choose to get in and something I can choose to own? Or is this something that belongs to me? You got to know the difference. You got to know the difference between what you choose to own versus what belongs to you. That's your last note. Learn the difference between what you choose to own and what belongs to you. Learn the difference. That's not just with family, y'all. That's in life. Like, my friend Denisha said that on TikTok. That's just not with family, y'all. That's in life. You got to learn the difference between what you choose to own and what belongs to you, because it ain't the same. What you choose to own and what belongs to you ain't always the same. Does that make sense, y'all? Okay? Learn the difference between what you choose to own and what belongs to you. I'm done. Did this make sense tonight? Type church with a lot of comments if it did. Support the show. This is your last chance. If this made sense, I want to give you a couple of announcements while you're saying church real quick. I'm going to let you go. 60 seconds. April 20th, group work this Saturday. Seats are full. I have 2 seats left May the 1st. For those of you that want to do some counseling work with me in a small group setting, 8 people, 2 hours. It's powerful. I have 2 seats for May the 1st. I think that seat might be down to 1. I'm not sure. I think someone grabbed one right before the live. I've got 1 seat left, I believe, for May the 1st. If you want to get it, that class will be full. I'm going to open up some more group works. That went away really fast this time because my calendars are full, y'all. I'm still not able to open up for new clients yet because the wait is still minimum 50 to 60 days, minimum. And so it's kind of hard to do that right now, but hopefully I can open up for new clients maybe within the next 30 days. I'm going to see how my appointments go the rest of April into mid-May. How to stop overthinking. I'm teaching that group work May the 8th. Thank you, Brother Sean. I appreciate you, brother. May the 8th, I'm teaching how to stop overthinking. That's going to be powerful. Check it out. May the 25th, I'm doing a course on setting boundaries that work. I teach boundaries in a way you can ask my clients that is crystal clear using a very simple analogy that helps you understand boundaries and how to teach them and then implement them into your life. It's powerful. You're going to enjoy that. For those of you that have trust issues, May the 4th, I'm teaching something that is patented called the triangle of trust. I created it. It is a triangular formula that helps you repair broken trust. It's powerful. It's patented. It's something I created. You will love it. I'm teaching that on May the 4th. The links to all of this stuff is in my bio. Also, thank you for the book support. They were supposed to come in next week. They came in yesterday. So some of those started going out today. A lot more of those are going to probably, if not all of them, go out tomorrow. So some of you may start to see them. I don't know if I'm going to run another print, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these things in my next YouTube video that will get me kind of officially relaunched. I've got one thing that I'm waiting on that comes in tomorrow. And my first video is going to be on authenticity. I did not want to do another I didn't want to do another edition of the books. You guys are going to look at those books and you're going to learn a lot about me just by looking at the books. But I did not want to do pull things out and take things out. No, that's my authentic self. That's who I was in many ways. And those things help to shape who I am today. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, some of you are saying your book shipped. You got notifications that it did. And so, yeah, can't wait to hear your feedback. Give me grace. They were written in 2015, 2019. But two offerings that I'm so very proud of that were really prophetic in terms of the work that I'm doing now. Didn't know how I would get here, but I knew I'd be here. Let me say this about Patreon. Some of you are saying what replays are available on Patreon. Um, all of the replays are available. All of the replays that I do not keep up on my networks are available on Patreon. I'm going to keep this one up, but there are a lot of videos that I did not keep up that are available on Patreon. But let me say this about Patreon, and this is going to be big. For those of you that don't attend, like How to Stop Overthinking on May the 8th, How Setting Boundaries That Work on May the 25th, The Triangle of Trust on May the 24th, and even any other future group works that I do, starting with these next group works, which the next one will be Triangle of Trust on May the 4th, you will be able to download those group works. You will be able to purchase those group works and download them and replay them as much as you want. All right, that's something I've been working on. And so you'll be able to download that through Patreon. It'll be available there until my app is finished. Breaking news. You'll be able to download it through Patreon, but you'll also be able to download a lot of other things that I'm going to put on Patreon as well. Those of you that are subscribed on Patreon and Instagram, Monday stream, I kept for my supporters on Instagram, my Instagram subscribers, as well as Patreon. Coach Sean, I think you just asked that, but let me just say this. Those of you that have subscribed on Instagram, those of you that have, thank you, Floyd's daughter. I know exactly who you are. I appreciate you. Those of you that subscribed on Instagram, those of you who have subscribed on Patreon, starting not next week, the first week in May, I'm going to be doing weekly 60-minute lives exclusively with subscribers. Some of them will be content-based. Well, I will teach some things. A lot of them are going to just be 60 minutes of Q&A, where you can come on and ask questions, and I spend literally an hour, and I'm going to just talk. It's going to be for my subscribers on IG and Patreon. I want to especially thank my subscribers on Instagram because you've been waiting the longest for this. And frankly, you've been patient because my business, my work is really taken off, and it's been a lot to manage as a one-man show right now. That's going to be changing soon. So if you are not subscribed on IG, do it right away. The price is the same on both IG and Patreon, but I'm going to be doing that at least once a week. And doing more just random lives there with my viewers. And then, of course, if you can't make it live, you will be able to see the replays of that. And that will be that. This group works are only for current clients. No, group works are not for current clients. They're for anybody. I've got one seat, I think, left for May the 1st. A lot of people have asked about group work because that is the wave of my future. It's small group coaching. And I'm just, y'all, I can't continue to see 10 to 15 people a day and be healthy. It's just not going to work. You all have to allow me to scale my business up. And so I'll be able to offer a variety of different things on a variety of different levels that will allow me to be able to engage all of you and still be able to do individual coaching, right, and counseling. So I'll still be able to do that, but just not as much, just because of the demand. And so I appreciate your patience. I've been figuring out a lot, but we're getting there, okay? And yeah, Coach Sean, I definitely will. I'll check that. I think I saw a DM from you. But yeah, we definitely need the link. I appreciate that. So yeah, so that's where we are. If you cannot make any of the group works starting in May, my group works, not the private coaching sessions, like the 8 people sessions. No, those are private sessions. Obviously, I'm not going to make that for replay so you can see that. But I'm talking about the topical ones, right? Where I'm talking about topics, overthinking, setting boundaries, triangle of trust, 5 areas of healing. I'm about to open that up again. When I do these going forward, they're going to be recorded and then made available for purchase. And you can see it. And the price might be slightly higher because it's going to be yours to keep. But those are going to be available. That way you can build your own catalog of things that you can watch over and over and over again. Okay. All right, y'all. I've talked a lot. I appreciate you. You get a seat for the boundaries. Go to my website. The link for all of these events, group works, are on my website. I appreciate all of you. I hope tonight was helpful. Like the video, share the video. I'm going to keep this up on all of my channels. And I look forward to engaging with all of you soon. Okay. Peace and blessings. Y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye now.